That's a long, I guess, a long drawn out like answer right there. My name is Ernest Bowen. I run Great Hall Kennels. I breed American Bulldogs, Old English Bulldogies, South African Boer Bull, and my overall journey is my creation of the African Bulldog. I would say I've been in this for a little bit over 20 years, 2 decades, going on almost 30. Um, my journey to get here, man, I think it really started from my uncle. My uncle bred Rottweilers and Doberman Pinschers, and they were all farm dogs and working dogs. So I learned a lot from him, and as well a lot of American Bulldog breeders that really brought me up and raised me to learn the breed and brought me to what I love and have today.
When you first got your American Bulldogs, what inspired you with that breed, and who were some of your inspirations, and what kind of American Bulldogs did you like the most at that time?
When I first got into this, my first program, first dog came from Vito Alu. It was a Picasso daughter. We named her Domino. When I first got into it, I lived in Missouri, and sometime before I even moved to Missouri, I was introduced to an American Bulldog by my next door neighbor. I was just impressed by the size of the dog. So that's probably about 5, 6 years later. When I moved to Missouri, I was able to have a dog. So I started Googling, looking up dogs, and the first one I came up with was Vito Alu of Braveheart Bulldogs. He contacted me, messaged me, and then invited me out to his program. And when I got there, the impressiveness of the bone, pure head size, pure girth of body, really, really just stuck with me. They were more the classic hybrid types built off of the Johnson lines. From there, my journey was I would always spend a lot of time talking to Vito, seeing what he has as far as breeding. And after that, I was introduced to Jennifer Clark of Tight and Tough American Bulldogs. That's where I started to learn and breed, like learn what breeding for a type was from her yard. She had some great, great dogs. Her and Will Clark, which is her husband. They had dogs named Mocha, Odin, Bison. These dogs had a lot of nice type, a lot of bulliness to them. That's really what got me into loving the dogs. The way that they had their conformation, the way they bred their dogs, just the purity of that is really what really got me. And I like the Johnson lines and love what Johnson has brought to us. But it's that classic hybrid type, that nice impact muzzle, big head, big muscle and bone. That's what really got me where I'm at and my type of dog.
What was the American Bulldog community like back then? Can you tell us some stories and what you learned that you take to today to your current programs?
What it was back then, I believe the camaraderie was a little bit different. It was a little better. I wouldn't say so much as better, but there was just more to do then. What the shows were back then, I mean, there were 3 day shows with the Friday night lights of weight pulling, and then the next days would be confirmation, and they also did the Iron Dog. A lot of competitions of like cardio for dogs, tug of war dogs, weight pull, like a fast weight pull, and things like that. What I learned from then, not just the breeding aspect of it, was the purpose of the dog. Everyone really brought the work in and brought like the dogs that are proven to do the job of what they were produced to do and be. So that's what I brought from there, like to now, was in breeding a dog. I like my dogs to be able to do the job that they're produced to do, as well as having a sound, solid temperament where they can actually be pet homes as well.
What is your ideal Bulldog today, as far as like painting us a description from height, weight, to chest size, everything that you can encompass in words about what you look for when you try to reproduce American Bulldogs?
For me, ideal bulldog, I would say the ideal bulldog, which really stood out to me anytime I'm looking at a bulldog. There's two that come to mind. It's going to be Braveheart Kennels Meathead, and as well as Tight and Tough Bison and Olden. Um, I would say head size of those two dogs are probably 24, 27 inches. My ideal height of a bulldog, I, I love a bulldog that's going to be tall, tall, 25, 26 inches. That's what they used to be, but they're not that now. So, I'm in the path of creating that. As far as like pure measurement size of a chest, man, I don't really look at measurements. I don't look at numbers. I really just like the whenever you actually look at the American Bulldog or any dog, that dog that's gonna make you take that double take. Like, wow, that's a nice beefy dog. Um, that's really what I'm looking at. It's a nice wide open chest, big thick back and shoulders, thick thighs. Not so much of a super tuck on the dog. Even stream top line, just something impressive and something super like just a thick dog, just super thick.
So, talk about the temperaments that you see in today's American Bulldogs to what you saw when you first started.
I'll say more when I first started, man. Um, I encountered a lot of prey driven dogs over aggressive dogs, and I think that's another thing that embarked my journey on a solid mind of a dog. Prey drive was new to me. It was something I really didn't understand or even know whenever I got into the breed. That they're so heavily of a working dog, so it kind of got me into a little bit of issues and situations in my own home. So once I started realizing and honing in on what that was, I had to make sure I bred away from that. To go on as far as a temperament and what I'm trying to produce in a dog, like the American Bulldog I have the litter of the oldies with right now. I put a lot into her to, just to make sure that she was really civil, really calm, had great confidence to be around any dog, any person. Um, just something how to put how to put this. Just a dog that really knows when to turn itself on and turn itself off. Right now, like I would say now the dogs are a little bit more sound because we started doing more of show ring, so we took a lot of the work out of the dogs, so they don't really have that high energy drive, which is for me I think it's great, and they can still perform and do the job, but they're not overly aggressive. What we call they're all red. When you see red, they go red. We don't have that today, and I'm truly grateful that we have honed and kind of put that down. But they can still do the job. I got a buddy that still takes his dogs out and does hog hunting and catch work with his. Actually, sent me a couple of pictures and videos the other day, which I love that they still have that mindset, but they're a lot calmer today.
Yeah, it's a double edged sword because what drives us to like bulldogs of all natures, of all sizes and stuff is their fearless attitude and just go forward no matter what the consequences are. That's just what I like about bulldogs a lot, and especially in my younger days. I valued that. I think people confuse bulldogs for being dumb. They're not dumb, they're just stubborn in my opinion, and I think they're just like they just they're up for the challenge, whatever that challenge is, and they like to scrap a little bit and they like to do the things that we don't necessarily want them to do all the time, and they're not very discerning about picking their spots and stuff like that. So I think that's the difference. So I don't think they're dumb, and they're just a little more of a challenge to train than your herding dogs and stuff. So anyway, so you started off with American Bulldogs. What ended up drawing you to the oldies, and how was that transition of having both, and how was the reception to that, uh, to you getting into the oldies?
Um, the oldies were really introduced to me back, I would say, it was roughly about 10, 15 years ago. Um, no, I wasn't set out to actually have an oldie. That wasn't never my plan. It never was in the goal to have oldies. It was just back then we could do what was called the 7/8 rule. Where we can take an oldie, breed it into an American Bulldog just to bring in a little bit more size and just that more bulldogish look. So the 7/8 rule, what it breaks down to is if you want your breeding to two breeds, but then you heavily breed of one, to make it 87.777 repeating percent, it's considered to be 100% of whatever dog you're trying to use or breed with. So if I brought it into an American, I'm just using the oldie for size. But then once I started breeding it more back to the American, then it became the oldie back into the American. Then in that 7/8 rule, it was actually an American Bulldog. Um, but in the transition, I started to love the oldies. Just about, they were a more smaller, compact bulldog type dog. Um, but with them, once in the transition into getting to them, there wasn't really much of, I guess, learning the temperament of the breed. I actually had to learn that the hard way, if that makes any sense. They were the ones I had a lot of temperament problems, a little bit uncontrollable. So, and for me, once I loved the breed so much, I had to seek out to go make my own lines and get whatever it is that I needed to make my certain look and type. Because in the oldie, as I was learning, there wasn't a lot of consistency in them. I mean, you have breeders that do have nice types and nice looking dogs and things like that, but in itself, in my personal opinion, they were just lacking a little bit. So I just honed out and just went out and started making my own, and I got my first little. It took me a minute, but I don't rush anything. I never have been the type to rush. I had to take my time and make sure that what I'm learning from myself as far as the dog before doing the breedings and things like that, I had to make sure that all everything pairs together to create whatever I create what I have right now.
Who are some of your early influences is with the oldies, and talk about the evolution of that, and the more you've gotten into it, and what you look into an oldie today to be a good specimen for your breeding program.
Early early influences of back then was this camp. It's Ray Cooper. Ray Cooper was the very first person that I met as far as oldies. He and was Buffalo Creek and things like that. Elwood McLeese and things. Really great influencer for me is Jamie Sweet. She had a dog that was named Dirty. To me personally, like that's for an oldie, he's my ideal. I mean, he was a, I guess you could, I guess you could call him an extreme English type dog. Um, but learning what they were and how they bred the dog really pushed me to get to where I'm at. Ray Cooper was a big influence of oldies for what he. Whenever I came into a meeting, Ray Cooper, him and Elwood, Buffalo Creeks. Whenever they would show me their dogs and things I saw, I loved the real Englishness to them, but it was a more muscled up dog. So from there, I met Jamie Sweet. Jamie Sweet had an impressive dog. Was Dirty. That was his name. He had a good English look to him, but a nice real touch of American Bulldog. So right then and there, that was my ideal. That's what I'm seeking to rebuild and bring back. I just feel today that what the oldies are, I mean, there are some nice looking dogs, but back in the day, about 10, 12 years ago, I feel that they had a little bit more size to them. They were taller in stature and they were wider in body and bigger in bone. More, I think, was more of a good working type dog. So with what I was raised on in the breed, I just feel that's gone now. That they're smaller in size. The breedings and the way that we did the breedings back then was to bring in English and American to actually build the type and build the look. Now I just think with so many outcrossing and bringing in a lot of different traits and things, just kind of lessen what we have today. So my goal is to recreate what Elwood had, what Jamie Sweet had, those dogs of the old days. As I call it, let's get back to the old ways, the old LDE, the oldie. So that's what I'm reaching out to do right now.
What do you think were some of the reasons for the downsides? Just that maybe the more English look sells better at the time, or do you?
Like, you mean, are you asking like downsizing the size of the dog?
Yeah,
I think it was more the market. I think people started to love the dog. They loved them, but they thought they were just too big. So I think the oldie became a breed, that's something you can make your own and make your own style. So the more smaller size, because families lived in apartments and things, and they wanted a bulldog. So I think that market for marketing to family homes and apartments is really what downsized the dogs. But and a lot of less breeding to for type and traits, and a lot of outcrossing as well.
are they allowing still for the outcrosses, or is that
Oh yeah,
not
you can
something?
still if you run into the IOEBA, you can still outcross. You can still do what they consider foundational breedings. You can bring in more American into the oldie to a generational oldie, which they call an F1 foundation breeding, which is where I'm starting with mine with my foundation breeding. You can bring in English. You can still bring in American. You can bring in a lot of people still want to bring in Mastiff into it. I mean, that's still open to the public to do, but I just feel a lot of people have found their niche or their so-called breeder that they love to like follow and things like that. So the ways of breeding, I just feel the ways of breeding is what's lacking as far as to create what you're looking for. So it's not really so much of the stud books or anything being closed.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because there was some. I heard some references being made in an oldies. I didn't really look into it about um, kind of referencing the fact that maybe there's too much variations, but
Uh, I would just say like the variations. There's a lot of variations in type and look. Um, I saw today a lot of variations. There are some that have the nice bullier type dogs that I can look at and really think that these dogs are really of the old, but a lot are more athletic boxer type in look. In that trait and subject of like when you look at it, you can recognize that it's so and so's breed. That's one thing I enjoyed of back in the day. It didn't matter if it was American Bulldog or if it was an oldie. Back then, when you're looking at a dog, you can tell which program it came from. Just of today, there's not a lot of breeding for a particular look, trait, and type. They're all over the place. Like I can't look at a dog today. Only way I know it's someone's dog is because you see the dog all the time. But when the dog is being bred, I don't see them reproducing themselves for the consistent look or what I would say people build. The oldie, yeah, you can build whatever look in whichever way, but I don't see any program today where I can look at a dog and say I know that dog came from so and so's program. Um, I can actually say one program that I can probably say that about is I can't remember the Chaos Kennels, Jessica Cook. One thing is I can look at her dogs and be like, all right, cool, I know that's a chaos dog. That's one thing I miss about breeding. That's one thing I miss is that hey, so and so's type, so and so's dog. That we don't have that a lot of that today.
why do you think that is? Because that's a really interesting subject to me that I could talk hours about.
Man, honestly, I was saying something about it the other day. I think COVID did it. A lot of people today came into this. I think COVID made was the biggest boom of where we had a lot of breeders come in. And a lot of those breeders, as they were coming in, they were looking to make a dollar instead of make a dog. So I think that was a big issue and like a bigger issue of today that no one really, whenever COVID hit, we all had everybody, that was the biggest sale of dogs. And everybody was trying to make money. And how can I make money? And so everybody jumped in like, hey, I can breed, I can breed, I can breed. But still at the same time, when all these people are coming in as just a pet breeder or a dollar breeder, you weren't learning what it was to be a breeder, what it was consisted to breed dogs for traits and type. You were breeding it, they more or less bred it for the dollar and the pretty flashiness of the dog instead of the creating your real look and starting off with a dog from XYZ's program and then bringing something else into that, producing puppies and looking at dogs for true trait, true type, true head size, and then breeding back to a dog to hone and lock that in. That's not been done today. A lot of people are taking this dog, but not coming back to where those lines come from. So you're going to lose that consistency. So I think that's a big reason why we don't have that. On that subject, one thing I do miss, like, I was upset about it, like, what you just brought up about, what things were done back in the day. I remember when I first came into this, I used to be really upset. I was going to go, hey, I want a dog to breed. I want to breed. And they would tell me absolutely not because they didn't sell out breeding rights. Like today, breeding rights are given out like free samples at Sam's Club. Like anybody can hit up anybody, like, hey, yeah, I want to take a dog and breed it. But the problem is, we as breeders, our job is to educate first. As we're educating, I feel if someone's coming to me and they want to get a dog for breeding, and I will conversate with you and figure out and see what is your true purpose. Do you have a purpose for breeding? And breeding was always a purpose. Now it's a dollar and color and marketing. It's not about the dog. So I miss the old ways where it was hard to get breed rights and you had to prove that you knew what you were doing as a breeder or know what it was to breed. Now it's like long as you pay for it, you can have it. And I feel giving so much and so many people breed rights has flooded our market and made it even hard to even sell a dog as a bred for purpose and reason and quality. It's just there's so many and there doesn't need to be this many breeders out and that don't believe in certain ways of breeding to get a dog. Like, well, not really get to make a dog.
So when you're now you've got the oldies and the Americans. How are you utilizing them together in your program, and what do you see in the future? Without getting into to your separate program yet, I want to say that for the last.
Um, Let me see. How can like I love what the American brings as far as a lot of structural build. Um, More or less like the rear. The American for me is my rear angulation turn of stifle bringer. Um, Not very many oldie programs, which some are focusing on that. But for me, my Americans bring in a lot actually. Um, a clear line of health and hips and rear angulation, a nice coat to muscle. They bring forth my muscle build, my let's just put my breeding now. Let's use that one. I love what Typhoon, the sire, bodybuilders Typhoon. Um, I would say bodybuilders. Whenever I got to see a lot of their dogs in person from Brandon's yard and as well as other yards. There was a lot of consistency and a lot of bone there, and a lot of Englishly like built dogs. But then whenever taking it into the American, for me, is going to add a slightly tighter, more physique muscle. It would also give me a rear angulation for a good movement of a dog. So that's where feel my American's going to bring in is going to bring clean breathing, open nares, um, agility, and rear angulation for the dog to actually carry itself to do whatever it is. You can sell to a pet home. I don't have any worry, stress that the dog is going to have a rear angulation issue. It's not going to have an ACL tear, which you can't stop all of them. But while I'm building it, I'm lessening that situation or putting less into someone's home because they're going to be taking the dogs to the park. It's going to get jumping up and down on the couch, getting in and out of a car. So my American Bulldog I believe, is going to help bring that. But I'm not gonna always just go oldie American. Once I really hone in my type, like I got a planned breeding, I want to bring in the English so I can keep that Englishy look and not stray away from too far into it being American in type and look. My American is gonna help with a structural bone, but not my overall build and look. It's more the English is what's going to help me keep that overall vision and build of a dog.
Yeah, for sure. I look at what the oldie and the composite breeds they bring to the table is that really exciting idea that you've got to purposely match up this dog to this dog, and they may be different breeds or different variations, but I could also see that's the hard part. So you're not taking the easy road in the breeding. You're not you know what I mean, you're not. Yeah.
It's I think in breeding, a lot of people rush it. You know, they for me, I like to raise my puppies for one, but a lot of people will rush into the breeding and grab an adult and then hurry up and breed another dog to their program without studying. Like, you know, if I got a female, oh, I'm looking at a nice male, and they're like, oh, I can breed to that male. But they don't look to see if that male really does reproduce himself and produce consistency into a program so that whenever they are looking for a type or looking at the dog that they know for sure that they're going to be 100% getting that in a full litter.
Yeah, for sure. So when I say line breeding, inbreeding, outcrossing, what do those mean to you?
They mean the
And
world.
so, and when is it appropriate to do any of those, and how do you what is your vision on those? On each of those subjects, what does it mean for you, and when is that decision need to be made, and your overall perspective on the strategies of breeding on those levels? Because I've talked to some people, even in like Johan Swart in South Africa, the Borbal guy who wrote a book, and he's really popular down there, and even Europe and stuff. Uh, he's not a line breeder or inbreeder.
Nah. uh,
So go
to,
ahead and
to
yeah.
answer
So
what those mean to me, they mean everything to me. They mean a lot. Because if those were not done, we wouldn't have the breed that's in front of us today. So to say when you should do it, once like, you did a breeding and you put something on the ground, you take us. I'm just gonna have to use my litter now. So I have a litter on the ground, which is my foundation breeding. I could take two puppies and breed one to something out on this side and breed one to something on this side. So I'm going to open up the lines on two different halves and put something in as far as a look or a type. So I have, which I would produce cousins. In that sense, I want to take those cousins and bring them back together. So this way, I'm not going too far away from what I'm building. Because if you're not gonna, you can take which would be an inbreed. You take a father back to a daughter, or you can take a mother back to a son. You can do that right away at any time you feel like it. To really say when you need to do it, I don't think there's really an answer for that. Like it fits you. If you feel that you need to do it right here, right now, because I even think about, do I want to take a brother and sister from this litter and bring it together? But sometimes I don't think that's the right thing because I don't really have. They have my look, they have my build, but are they 100% what my vision is? No. So I feel once you start building and you're doing tighter breedings and you actually hone in on what you're looking at and what you're looking for, that's when I think you should start really doing more of the inbreeds. And once you build a couple of inbreeds, like if you have a couple that you have, now you can take but they have to be different. So the best way to go, if I do an inbreeding in category one, and then you do an inbreeding category two, which are two separate lines, which are built to your type. Once you do that, and I think that you have that done for the tight line breeds and things, now that they don't share the same blood. Now I believe that that's when you need to do the outcross. That way you can open up something without losing what you have. You can't outcross to dogs that have no type. You can't outcross to a dog that is not bred to a type. because then you're just going to produce a scattered litter and a scattered look and a scattered program and a scattered pedigree as well. You got to build for the consistency first before you can actually do an outcross. You can take an outcross dog at any time you want to, but when you do too many outcrossing, you're going so far away from so many different traits, whether it's the head type, whether it's your wide chest, your bone. The more and more you lessen it, the more and more you're going to have less of the dog you're looking for to desire as your type of dog.
So when I say health testing, what does that mean to you in your program? I have a lot of uh, I've researched a lot and talked to a lot of people in canine genetics, um, and their perspectives has been really interesting, especially when it comes to your uh, your less healthy dogs like French bulldogs and English bulldogs. But just when I say health testing, what does that mean to you, and what do you see that introducing into your program? Either way, no right or wrong answer.
Well, health testing is not the be all end all. A lot of people jump on health testing and think, oh, it's the everything in a dog. Um, I like health testing. Make sure my dogs are not for my consumer, my pet home. For one thing is like if we're going to be breeding and we're trying to put health first, we don't want our consumer to buy a dog from us and then have to further pay deeper into vet bills for the dog. So to make sure you're not producing dogs that have ick and HUU or NCL, anything that's going to be an internal liver, kidney, urinary, or any issue like that. For doing embark testing for me is a wise start, along with testing, for elbows, so displacement of the elasticity of the elbows, as well as the hips, because these things are, again, are not the be all end all, but it's a great platform to where if you're breeding the puppies onto the ground, that you're lessening the more problems that are already in the dog. But I like those skeletal and internal breedings. I mean, health testing. Those are great and all, but for me, it's more the mental. I like the mental, which a lot of people don't believe. I don't believe that they speak about this. They're not thinking about, hey, what is the mental health of my dog? And that's where I keep saying, like what I said earlier, is that prey drive, that heavy aggression in a dog. Are we really breeding for that? So the mom of this litter I have right now, people will all tell you, like, I love this dog. I love everything about her because everything I put into her, she mentally lets me know, hey, I am a sound dog. Um, she at 9 months we did her first show at the John D. Johnson show. Um, she did take Drivey as puppy at 9 months old, as well as she won her class at 9 months old, which gave me the sound like I know she's conformational. But then the next year we went again. She was roughly not not quite 18 months at this time. She competed in her confirmation class and things like that, and she did really well. So still, again, I was proud to see that she still had that quality of movement from being a puppy into now a full adult. So she consistently still had that move, still performed really well in the ring. But then after we did all that, anything I asked her to do that day, I asked her to perform in what's called the civil training, which meaning, the gentleman came up, he can shake your hand and hang out with you and then walk away, and he came back in a more aggressive sense. That same exact man, my female, was like, hey, I may have met you, but you are now being a threat to my protector, my owner. So I'm gonna do my job to protect him as well. So I love she did that. And then after we decided, I'm like, hey, let's be training weight pool. So I asked her, hey, let's weight pool. She outpulled all the females and got she got number one bitch to weight pool. She outpulled all the males and got the highest dog to pull in weight and percentage, as well as earned a level one weight pool title in that as well. But throughout the entire day, they were still evaluating every dog that was at this show. So where she was awarded at the very end of the show, she was awarded John D. Johnson Top Dog of 2023, which saying, she performed in every event that was given. She's the only dog that did it. Not one dog performed in every single category. And she did that mentally when I asked her to do it. She did it hands down. Still to this day, I can take her out in public. We can go to a patio bar. We can hang out. And she loves to love on people, doesn't have an issue with any other dog. But if there was something to arise, her mental will let me know, hey, I can still be a dog, but I can still be a pet. So a lot of people don't look at like, hey, what is the mental balance of my dog before I'm going to breed the dog? For me, I want the mental to be there first. That is my number one look at it. It's like, hey, what is your mental? And then from there, like, we do look at the structure and everything as well. So the structure has to be there. That mental health has to be there before anything we're doing as far as the hips and the elbows and all that stuff. Because if the mental isn't there, we're only going to keep breeding the off balance, the lack of confident dogs, which are going to be triggering more, everyday somebody getting bit situation. So that's when it comes to health that a lot of people don't really think about. And when you ask me what does health mean to me, mental health means the most over the HUU testing, the hip testing, the elbows and the hearts, which those are really great things and those are vital for me as well. But my number one standpoint is mental temperament, confidence in the dog. Will the dog be able to be a pet? Can I ask this dog to protect my family? Those are the top percentile things that I'm looking for before I even breed a dog.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I love hearing that because for me, just being 6 years into this, as far as like really studying and talking to people around the world about the finer points of genetics and temperament and breeding and all of those sorts of things, I felt like I had a grasp on that. And then me being a guy that's owned several dogs in my life and been around a lot of different breeds, I still, when I went to buy my first breeding quality puppy, I made a lot of mistakes, and temperament was one of them. And it's like I knew it in the back of my head, but I didn't think about it. All I was looking at is what the dog looked like and what the parents look like. I wasn't and what the future may look like for this puppy. I wasn't looking at the finer points like the mental health side of it, like you're saying. And there was some red flags that I saw uh, that I didn't see with my other two, and so and now I'm paying for it, and so yeah, I think it's a lesson learned. Was there any lesson in your life that has taught you that that's really important to you? Did you have one of those dogs where you were like, I love this dog, but it just doesn't fit what I want as far
I
as
did.
temperament?
When I first got into American Bulldogs, I knew nothing about prey drive whatsoever. When I first came in American Bulldogs, I didn't really know much about the dog, but the look, just like you. Like, hey, I was looking at a nice built, muscular, beautiful paint job on a dog. I love this dog. He was hands down, he was a beautiful dog, beautiful dog. He would weight pull, he did everything, but what prey drive was, I didn't know. Like so, um, it was one day I actually took him to my mom's house, and I actually had to put him in a crate because I had to help my mom do some things. So I put him in this crate, and he was in the backyard. And my niece at the time was probably 3 or 4 years old, and she was on one of the little kiddie trampolines. It's not really big; it's just for little toddlers, and she's just bouncing on it. And my mom looks at me, and she's like, "Ernest, now why does this dog look like it wants to eat your niece?" And I was like, "Oh, he don't want to do that. He don't want to do that." And like, I didn't. I was just like, man, he's just looking at her like that, like, "Hey, I want to play with you," but he didn't bark, growl, nothing. He just really had like a straight stare at her, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe he wants to play, but we didn't take him out or anything. So I would say sometime a little bit, I would say 3 4 months later, um, you know, we were at this time I was married at this time, and certain things would happen. I would see the dog. If anybody was like running through the house, he was like, "Hey, what is that?" And he'll start going after it. So it got to the point. I'm like, "Hey, we got to keep an eye on this dog." Well, at one day, I decided I went to go take a shower, and it was my daughter and stepdaughters and their friends were in the backyard. And I wasn't thinking anything of it. Once I got out of the shower, I was like, "Hey, he needs to go outside and go to the bathroom." I let him out, and they're actually jumping on our large, giant-sized trampoline. And all I hear is my stepdaughter saying, "Hey, sit down." And she's like, "You sit down and you don't move, he's not gonna do anything." But then I hear just screaming, and he's literally just full fledged trying to like bite them at the from up under the trampoline. So even as I go under there to get him, he doesn't care it's me. There was no listening to me. And at this moment, it's like, yo, if you are going to go after my children and their friends, which my job is to protect them as well as you, but if you don't even care that I was telling you no, that was a problem, that a mental sense and a dog that was uncontrollable. Like right then and there, I said, I will never have it. I'll never breed that. That was something that really had to be as a father, as a my dating right now and all that stuff like that. You know, we have children. So my number one thing is to make sure that in my dogs and what I'm breeding and what I bring into my home, that my home is still safe. So the safety of a mental unbalanced dog was something I could not have to even be going further in a breeding program. Because let's say if I kept that dog and I kept breeding that, all I was doing was producing more of that trait. So that alone for me was a big red flag. It was a big no. And I never bred the dog. Actually put him somewhere where he can actually go live life in paradise and go hog hunting 24/7, because that's what that dog needed. He didn't need to be just, in a home and not being able, like, he weight pulled and everything. We took him for walks and everything, but it didn't matter if he saw another dog. He was like, I'm going to fight and go after that dog. And no matter what nose and pulling on his collar and like his leash and dragging him down the road, he was still turning around, looking the other direction, and had no care to what I was saying. So I said, I'll never have that. I'll never breed a dog like that. And no dog that has a trait like that. I even had a few, even now. I even had one and I was like, no, I'm not breeding that. So that dog had to go as well. A lot of people aren't honest to themselves. They still look at the dog and they think, oh, this dog is so pretty, such a good looking dog, that still, oh, I can breed that to a more lesser female. But then breeding that to a lesser female, you're still going to produce dogs just like that. So that's a trait, is a 100% no for me. Yeah, I feel as a breeder, what we're going for as far as our overall production and overall look, and not just really so much just the look, just the mental part of it all. Like, we really have to be open and honest to said dog. If that said dog is showing so many signs and problems, then I can't breed that dog. I have so much pride in that litter, man. I really do. Like I said earlier to the missus, I was like, hey, they sleeping on these puppies. Like, but it's not. It was for me. It was really truly done for me. And like, just just the purpose behind it. Like, we always say, like, you got to make sure the proof is in the pudding. And a lot of people do things just because they can. I do it because I have to. I mean, and what I'm looking at when I'm doing it. So the father, he is a bodybuilder's production, which is owned by Bodybuilders Typhoon, who's owned by Leatherneck Bulls. So I own a Typhoon daughter who is a F1. So there's litter on the ground, they're F1s, which are foundational oldies. So I own a daughter which was bred to Typhoon to an American Bulldog. And what she has for us, I mean, she's nice bone, good wide open chest, good jowl line, that pronounced jowl. She has a really nice head type. So I was like, okay, so if Typhoon can do that to an American Bulldog, I think this is where I need to start, because I love my American Bulldog. So the mother, I've already given you her background, what she is mentally. But what she is as far as a physical dog, genetically it's there. So her great grandfather is Capo. His direct son is owned by my best friend, kennel partner, my number one guy I talk to. His name is Dennis of Bulls. We like he owns Diesel. Diesel is Capo's son. When Diesel is bred, he produces the genetics of what Capo is and what the mother of my litter is. Just to show like it's there's so much consistency in that. So with her lines and what she is and what uh, Typhoon has done with the female that I have, I knew taking him to this was going to produce something monstrous, crazy, genetic, and consistent in what I'm further going after. So, man, it's just so much. Like, I can go pick up any puppy and they're just pronounced cheek, big bone, nice muscle, wide open nares. They're bully. They're capo-ish in a way. They're typhoon in a way. There's a lot behind them that is right there. I'm actually right next to that litter right now, and I'm just trying to check to make sure they're good. Uh, man, I can't. I'm floored myself, like just for what I did with this breeding. I'm truly 100% happy and love that I did it. I love I did it. The pups are telling me it's time to eat again.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm actually getting one of them freshened up. I'll actually post bring one onto the pod with me.
Yeah. As a breeder, when you've got dogs on your yard that may not fit exactly the standard, but they add to your program, are they viable breeding stock or what's the deal? Because I see that as being an interesting subject. Because sometimes it may not fit your overall vision, but it might fit the piece to the puzzle. Are those worthy dogs on your yard?
Oh man, I don't believe in pieces to a puzzle if that makes any sense. When I'm looking at a dog that I'm going to breed, it has to have 80% of what I'm looking for in a dog. I mean, there's no perfect dog. There's no such thing as a perfect dog. But if a dog is lacking, if it's cowhocked, I don't like people are like, oh, cowhocked, I'm not really worried about that, yada yada, this, that, and the third. Rear is one thing that's really hard to fix. I look at my dogs, even if I go buy a puppy, I raise that puppy and I watch it grow, and I'm the one that gets to understand and see its temperament. I just don't breed a dog just because I can breed it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense because if I'm looking at a dog and it doesn't have a great pedigree behind it and it's not fitting that pedigree that's behind it, or if it doesn't have if it's traits and it's out of the litter, if the litter is all scattered and all over the place, and I know when I breed this puppy that is not going to give me what I'm looking for. And when I say I've spent years of not breeding, and I did that because I didn't want to rush nothing. I wanted to raise everything I have. So if the dog in front of me does not portray what I'm looking for down the line, I'm not going to breed it. I won't breed that because that doesn't make any sense to do that when it's in a sense you're just now doing it because you can do it when I got to do it because I have to do it. It's not for I could sell a puppy here and sell a puppy there and people will think they're going to be cute because the overall person that needs to get a puppy is me. So I need to produce what I'm looking for the here and the now so I can go to from today to tomorrow for the rest of my life. So there's no point in breeding something if it doesn't give me a high percentage of what I'm looking for in producing a dog.
So talk about the beginning stages of your vision here with the African Bulldogs. Is what is it that you're looking to do, and why did it come to this conclusion? And with the types of dogs you're using, and describe to people what breeds you're using to fit the dog that you're trying to build.
Um, why did it come to this? Um, Best way I can put it is all these breeds that we have right here, right now. It doesn't matter. It can be the oldie. It doesn't matter. If it's American. It doesn't matter if it's the Boer. Someone else created that. Someone else did that. So technically, you can go buy a McDonald's, but you're only franchising it. So every time I buy a dog, yeah, I can put my name, my kennel name on it. But did I truly make that dog? No, I didn't. Like someone else did. So I'm just carrying on someone else's name and legacy. So in the whole sense of it all, I got to go make my own. What is my name gonna be? What is my carbon footprint going to be? And what I knew of the dogs of before, they're no longer around. Like the American Bulldogs that I first ran into, those big, massive, big bone, big blocky heads. There's no American Bulldog out there like that right now. So my journey is to actually recreate that by building the consistency of my oldie and the consistency of my American Bulldog. Um, and then with the boar bull itself, as you said before, of they don't do a lot of line breeding. So that breed in me, in my opinion, is the most inconsistent. But I have to build my type of boar bull because the boar bull is going to give me my overall massive height and my massive bone, which as well is also going to help me in my temperament and with them being a great guardian, but yet an emotional family dog. But with bringing that in and still the temperaments and everything I have, but the structure of the rear angulation comes from my American Bulldog. So with taking all these to make my composite breed and to make my name, that is my not really so much my name, my own dog. That is what I'm truly after, is to recreate what I knew when I got here in American Bulldogs. There's none like that anywhere. So like if I'm gonna have to have it and I need it, I gotta make it and do it myself. So I'm building the recipe for that as we speak. Really, out of anyone that has done this before, it's really just Jamie. Um, I have a few people that I've run into. Another guy that really persuaded me to do this is, I run Valhalla Pet Transport. And while I'm out and about seeing these dogs, putting my hands on dogs, I ran into a guy that runs Tiger Guard. He's up in the Baltimore, like the Maryland area. And when I went to go pick up one of his dogs, I didn't realize, what he was really doing. But whenever I got there, I saw so many various different breeds. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm actually producing my own dogs, and these are what you're transporting." And when I saw that he was doing this, I'm like, "Yo, I can actually do this. I can make it my own." But as I'm still going through the whole travel and the thought of it, I knew of Jamie Sweet and would talk to her here and there through social media. But I actually went to go pick up a dog from her, and I actually realized, who she was and what she did. And realizing that she had a hand in the oldie dirty, and she actually met my first produced African Bulldog. And I talked to her about what my path was and what I really wanted out of a dog. And she, as she says, "Earn, you gonna get it." And she loves the fact that, like, anytime I have a question of like, "Hey, if I can do this way, can I do it that way? Will this gonna work?" And with her creating her own breed and the shorty breed, I'm really open to hearing what she has to say to me, no matter if it's good, if it's bad, and learning from that, and like learning from someone that's truly has done it is the only way you're going to get to where you need to be. Yeah, I can, like, you can do whatever you want to do. I can go breed this dog and that dog and do this way and do it another way, but will that really get me to where I need to be? No, it's just gonna be, it will, but it's gonna take me forever. Even though patience is a thing to do, but knowing what you need to do to get to where you need to be in a shorter path, the shortest distance between two places is a straight line. So why do I want to go curve over here and curve over there when I know somebody that can get me straight to it? And that's one thing I love about Jamie. Um, I even have something that I have coming up in the mix that's actually involving Jamie, the with the breeding, and I really love that I'm about to do this. I'm not gonna announce it yet because I rather get everything done and have all my ducks in the pond before I can throw anything in a row.
Yeah, I'll love to hear it when it's out in the open.
Oh man, I'll definitely let you know.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, for sure. And so when as your vision now with the African Bulldog, where do you see it in 5 years when you have enough F1s on the ground, and what uh, where does it go from there?
I would say in the next 5 years, I would say by that time I'll have enough of, because I'll be doing different breedings into some of my dogs to a Borbal to Borbal. I'll have a few by that time. But in the next 5 years, I think I will have a nice setup of African Bulldogs to really have my look, my type, my trait, my temperaments. I think I'll have enough there. So I'll have a nice little platform to where I can really start building off of that. But further on down the line, once that 5 years hits, it's on and running from there, man. Because I really feel the right then and there. And when I have that, it's nothing but consistent, nothing but consistent. But still, at the same time, like for most people, I think they become complacent with what they have. For me, I'm my biggest competitor. So while I'm doing something, I'm looking at this dog like, okay, cool, I like you, but what can I do to make this pop a little more? So I'm always trying to outdo my first one. So like let's say this oldie breeding. I did an oldie breeding last year, and I'll tell you right here, right now, boy, nah, that wasn't it. So I was like, hey, back to the drawing board. How can I redo this but outdo that? So as I'm further going and as I'm further breeding into my dogs and I get my composite breed, well, no, my African Bulldog. Once I get it, now it's like, yo, I got to keep the consistency, but what can I do to add a little bit more pop and flair? So I'm going to continuously keep trying to build it and make it a little different and give something to myself, but yet still keep the people in the public really like, hey, what's coming next of that? Or to have people really having the dog that they'll like have the same excitement that I do when they get the dog. So it's nothing but gonna be like once that 5 years come, it's gonna just be more passion, more growth, and just more action put to play.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing it in the future. Tell me about what it means to have, a community of people working together.
Man, I could say starting in my home front, uh, just starting at home. I'm not the only breeder in my home. My girlfriend is a breeder as well. Having her next to me, like we bring two different things to the table. We bring a lot of the same, but from her, what I've actually learned is that I love is like the whole medical sense of a dog. She is a veterinarian tech, and so she brought a lot of that to me. And having her in the home and me in the home to be able to be in two different sides of two different kind of dog people, that she does a lot of like she loves the confirmation, she loves those things, and she likes like she was out here just a little bit earlier taking one of a dog that I just brought in. She really likes doing these training things with them, so they get a different kind of love like from that, and then for me they get the working sets. But having her to like bounce ideas off of and build these dogs together, it kind of shortens that path. But still at the same time, the community of my buddies like Vagara Bulls, every single day we're always collabing and building and having somebody that comes in on the outside. I got someone, his name's Dominique. He's probably gonna take one of these puppies, but having more like-minded people to build the same thing and have the same vision, it it puts a lot of us the same stamp of dog out into the community where we're all building the same thing but tweaked a little bit different, but we're not so far off that everything is going to be scattered in look or scattered in type or scattered in a temperament. To do that and having so many people to have it around, I think helps make our move a little bit easier, and it's a little bit less stress that we don't have to take in so many dogs because we can actually work together to put things on the East Coast and the down south and we can keep things moving with a more smoother clock and tick. So I just think having a community that works together, that looks at the dogs the same, just makes whatever you're doing and whatever you're building a little bit smoother in the transition of it all.
Is there anything that we didn't cover this time around? And I like to leave a little bit so we can do a follow up when you're ready.
Uh,
And
I wouldn't say there's not much that we didn't cover on this time around. Um, my next thing is what I do is nutrition.
yeah,
That'll be one good standpoint of something that we can add into a follow up.
okay, for sure. Yeah, just give us a little snippet of what your idea of nutrition is.
Little snippet is raw. uh,
Okay. Yeah, we'll
feeding
talk. Okay.
that. Yeah, so it's a long journey into that, like what it is and what
Yeah.
it takes and what actually brings when your dog has been fed and eat raw, like each element to it actually brings and gives to your dog.
Yeah, maybe next time you could bring your girlfriend on and you guys can come together and talk
I would
about
love
it.
that. I would love that. So
Yeah.
just if anybody wants to look up what she does at
Yeah.
Swampside Bulldogs, is Kayla Ann Marie. Check her out, man. She does some good stuff over here. She actually has a litter on the ground right now, off of her girl Daisy and Brock. So
Oh.
nice tricolored dogs, real smush muzzles.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
go and look at them. Her dogs as well.
Oh, awesome. We'll talk about her program as well.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Do you got the puppy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's actually over kiss facing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need the puppy. Yeah. What'd you do with Papa? Oh,
I also have another oh, let's see this. Oh, wow, look at that.
right there.
Oh man.
Yeah,
That's a
nice.
nice looking dog.
Yeah, real nice jawline.
Yeah, look at that.
Really good bone and chest. Just everything is pronounced on him. Like I love it. I truly love this litter, man. Like
Skin is tight, looks like. Yeah.
real nice, real nice and tight. I love this dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he may not go too far from us, so he just has a lot to bring to the table, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
that
we'll talk too about puppy selection and hear both of your sides perspective on that.
that'll be a great thing because we're going back and forth over and over, and I'm like, I don't know which one to keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but I'll hold them all. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
yes,
nice looking pup.
I appreciate it, man. I really do,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you want to, hey, can I see Papa? He's a little dirty from He's a little dirty because he just got through finished eating. So this is
Oh, look at that. Ooh, look at him. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. You see that consistency in that head type. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and these are the actual only two brindles out the litter. Well,
Wow.
full like this, but he's another one that's like it's so hard,
Ooh,
man.
look at him. Yeah.
Hard. Yeah,
Yeah. Look at
yeah.
yeah.
I love this. This is one thing about a dog that is that jowline, that pronounced cheek, and nice little muzzle that comes out
Yep.
wide. Nice
Yep.
bully head,
Yep.
good bone. We got that chest open up.
Yeah.
And so everything about this litter, this is that foundation litter that I did. That
Yeah.
can't be more proud of these pups, man. Like
Well, you might
this,
have to keep both of them.
it might be three of them, three males and two females. I keep.
There you go.
Because I'm gonna have to do this to, as I was saying, we were talking about that inbreeding and stuff like that, and like coming back to tight line breeding, because I'm thinking about taking two sisters, doing something with them, and breeding these, like bringing two males out to breed, because they're a little bit different in look, so they have a little bit different that they can add for my overall look. So if I
Hmm.
took two males, bred to separate females, and took those two sisters and bred out to something else, I'm opening up my line, but I can bring a cousin to a cousin and half brother to half sister.
Yeah.
So going to keep that consistency happening. So that's something I'm not going to give up is consistency. Consistency is a must, man. And the
Yeah.
only way to get it is keep your lines tight, but don't keep it too tight so they go too small.
Right. Yeah. That's probably the hardest thing too when you're trying to keep a size is keeping that size. I hear is really hard when you're. That's why the barbell comes in, right?
Yeah, that's where the Borgo comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, next time too, we'll talk more about the Borbal and your introduction into that community and how different they roll compared.
man, they're a little strict with their stuff, but you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll let you get back to it, and I'll shoot you a message, and we'll work out details and when a good time for you guys to both come on, and we'll talk about those things.
yeah, no, man. I really appreciate you having me and let me get my
Yeah,
story out and see to speak about my side of things and how I
yeah.
see it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I first noticed your dog, so that was the thing. I was like, heard the concept from a couple people, and they said, uh, "You might be interested in this." And then I looked you up, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm interested," and I hit you up. So,
Appreciate it, man.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, good talking to you, Ernest.
It was good
Talk to you
talking
soon.
to you too, man. Anytime you want to do another one, I'll be right here.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate it.